Hello, hello, Facebookers. I don't know if you can see me. It's actually gone really dark. Hi. I think I'm going to have to go and put a light on. Hold on a second. Let me just stick this light on. I'm hoping you guys can see me. I say this every time, but I'm never sure if I've got a good enough connection. So anyone jumping on, just say hey, and then I'll know you're there. And I still look really dark. Anyone there? For some reason it's really dark. I'm in a basement flat, so I'm not sure how much traction I'm going to get with the Wi-Fi, but I shall try. So, today's live stream is about the toxic masculine. And I want to start by saying that, hi Dylan, thanks for joining. Thanks everyone for joining. I want to start by saying that this is not men bashing episode 1. This is just talking about the toxic masculine energy that I see pervading down family timelines. This is where generations of toxic masculine energy have been on repeat, and it's a very damaging, dominant kind of energy. So it tends to, it's kind of like when you shove something down a hill like a round object, it's going to start off slowly and then it keeps on going. And what I like to say to people is that it's not that this toxic energy runs down your family timeline and then you just have to absorb it and you repeat, whatever's been going on. You can become a conscious person and more conscious of your choices. I feel like the shadows on my face are making my face look weird. More conscious of your choices. But this energy, we can see it at the moment. It's appeared really heavily in 2016, 2017, this dominant energy that, politics is probably the best description of toxic masculine. It isn't always what we think it is. If I was to ask you, hi John, we're going to be doing a call soon after this. If someone was to ask you to write down all the things that you think makes up the toxic masculine energy, you would say probably aggression. I've written some down. Aggression, a lack of taking responsibility, force rather than flow, rage, limited interaction with children, workaholism. They're all part of the toxic masculine. But there also is knowing things. So there's also these insipid things that maybe people wouldn't automatically think was toxic masculine energy. It can be just thinking that you know something. So this isn't just about men, as I said before. It's very dominant in men, but toxic masculine energy can also be, arriving in women. It's changed women a lot. So anyway, so we have aggression, but we can also have this kind of knowing, like we just know something. We are not open. So it's a lack of openness, a lack of receptivity. Because receptivity is a feminine energy trait, but it can also be denial. So it will just deny something. So you will come and say, I am having this experience. I feel this way. I want you to meet me in it. Can you help me with this? Or this is how I feel about what, you've said to me. And a toxic masculine has no listening. It just goes into, I don't care. It's selfish energy. It just is focused on the self. And it's kind of what is the sort of link to narcissism. So narcissism is the next step. When narcissists basically will be fully evolved in the toxic masculine energy and highly disconnected from the feminine energy, which is basically the heart energy. It's heart opening, right? I'm just looking to see what you're saying. Jason, hello Jason, thank you. Hey, I'm the head of my phone keeps playing silly buggers. I'm the head of my household and my wife said that I can say so. You're allowed to, John, that's fine. That's not what this is about. a lot of people mistake, when I talk about the toxic masculine, or when anyone talks about it, that it's just a dig at men, and it really isn't. I absolutely believe that there is a divine masculine energy that men in particular are supposed to embody, but also because women are supposed to embody their divine feminine. And that's really when there's this an amazing match between men and women. What happens is the toxic masculine energy has become so dominant through family lines that either men have become really dominant, or that energy then gets passed on to women, or sometimes this is in both sides of a family line, where women will then take on a similar energy, the toxic masculine energy, just manifests itself slightly differently, because they're now in protection. So they go into what I call man mode, where it's like, now I'm in protection because I don't trust you. So toxic masculine energy is not something that you will feel safe around, whereas divine masculine energy is safe. It is the epitome of safety. It's the hero, it's the hero who will look out for you, look after you. His intentions are set for you. It's not internalized to the I am ego self. It's externalized as in, I am a strong, confident person within myself, and I am here to help you. That's how the divine masculine manifests itself. But I wanted to just go through some of the toxic masculine elements and why I believe that we've ended up with this as such a dominant trait in our culture. So it kind of starts off really, I believe, with a lack of mentors. We have a lack of elders, a lack of true teachers that are able to teach our children, and primarily our sons, although I'm not saying this is about men. It's, men need good teachers to teach us about what the toxic masculine is and what divine masculine is, what it is to be a truly centered person, to be solid and stable, and to really actually know yourself. I'm always going on about how the system is not set up to really truly find out yourself, to know yourself. The system's set up so that we get to know English and maths, and we learn a language and a science, and then we get to decide who we're going to be from a place of learning about what it is to be a policeman or a teacher, or, whatever it is, someone that works in a bank. We're not ever taught to look beyond what else there is in the world, and we're not taught to look within. We're not taught to connect with ourselves on a deeper level. And when we lost really having great mentors, we lost the ability to connect to ourselves easily, because we didn't have anyone to teach us those skills. They all taught us how to navigate the 3D world, that's fine, but they didn't teach us how to actually embrace ourselves. And boys, in fact I watched a program the other day, I can't remember what it's called because I don't watch TV very often, but all the kids in this, we were all about 7, they were all being tested to see whether or not, if they took away gender concepts, if gender had an effect on how they interpreted themselves and other people, especially between themselves, boys and girls. And what was very noticeable was that the boys had huge trouble in connecting with their emotions other than anger. So they could express anger, but even when they felt sad, the sadness came out as anger. They had real trouble trying to connect to that. Whereas the girls tended to do the opposite. They tended to go to sadness. They didn't really get to anger. They had more of a range of feeling words than the boys had. The boys didn't really have words for the emotions that they were feeling. And the guy who was taking the show was saying, that's what happens. This is what happens when we're young. We're not taught, boys in particular are not taught that it's okay to cry, that it's okay to be connected to themselves, their feelings and emotions, and to express them. So they learn that what they're allowed to do is to get angry or try and just shut up about it. Like there wasn't a huge range of emotions. And they tried to basically show in this program that this was happening, and I think they did a pretty good job. Even though I don't like TV much, they did a good job. And I think it's really because we as adults are not equipped to teach our children how to, step into their femininity and be strong and empowered. I will be doing a feminine energy live stream next. Or taught how to step into their true masculine, where they don't have to push, the negative toxic masculine has to push. When you are in the divine masculine, you don't have to keep pushing. You can strive, but you don't have to keep pushing and pushing to make your point. You don't have to abandon all else for your mission in life, right? But we just don't. We don't. Hello, celebrity. I don't think I'm a celebrity, but that's all right. Thank you, Pravin. So yeah, we just have lost the mentors that we needed. And I believe if we had stayed in a culture where we still had mentors and elders to look at, that this probably wouldn't have been quite as dominant across thousands of years as it has been. So the second point is we've lost respect for our elders. Huge disrespect for elders. So what we tend to do now is we will place our children in school and we'll place our old people in homes. And so we have a planet where people walk about who are kind of all of a middle ground of age, right? Young adults to, 60-year-olds, right? The middle ground. And we do not see elders. We don't talk to them. We don't communicate with them. So we are slowly over time losing a connection with the older generations that are able to give advice. They're not going to be able to know everything. Like I always say, a lot of our families, our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents maybe weren't conscious enough to choose better ways of parenting. That's true. But there also just is this lack of honour of the elders. Maybe because our elders were not conscious people, choosing conscious things and teaching us conscious, ways of being. So there's a huge lack of respect. We've lost respect because we don't have the elders that we need or needed. And the thing is, there is this thing about boundaries where children and young people, they will push. You see children, they will push, they will test your boundaries to see whether or not you're going to set any. And if you don't set any boundaries, then they don't respect you. They just keep playing out because they're kind of needing to know how far they can go with it. They're needing you to show them what's right and wrong, what is the best way to be, right? Elizabeth said, we've lost respect for our elders. Very important point here. Yeah, that's the thing. And I think that there is a point to it that we did lose respect for our elders simply because they weren't doing a very good job, but many of them. Like I say, in the work that I've been doing, I can see a lot of toxic masculine energy has come down over time through generations. So our elders were not the elders that we needed, but simply by that, we've lost the respect, and then it's like, we just don't have the elders we need, and we don't look to them anymore, I guess is what I'm saying. So we need to create something where there are people that we can go to, where we can feel like we're able to be vulnerable and open and feel our emotions and really connect to the masculine energy in a way that is empowering, especially for our young guys, I keep saying. So basically with the boundaries, so children will push you and test you, and if you don't set a boundary and if you don't show them who you're being by leading yourself, then they won't respect you. If you show them that you can, show up as a calm, listening and open person, then they're not going to respect you. If you also speak to them without respect, like you talk down to them or believe that you're above them, then they won't respect you either. So we've created this cycle. It's important to see the cycle part of it. It's not just that we've lost respect for the elders also weren't there. They weren't there as they should have been. And our society has kind of now kept us in this little bubble where it's like, you know, we are sort of the main people. So meaning that we don't have anyone to look to see how else to grow, unless we're actually looking out in the world at people like Michael Beckwith or Wayne Dyer or Louise Hay, who passed away today. People like that who can maybe help us, you know, where we've had to resort to books and YouTube videos and webinars and things like that, and events, maybe even going to seminars, because we've lost the connection to the true elder. The true elder would be the person in the village who would help the young man or the young woman to become, you know, a whole man and a whole woman, right? Not that you're ever broken, but you know what I'm saying. So the next bit, so I'm just looking at my notes, is that, people were taught by people who weren't conscious and weren't aware and were not embodying the true masculine. So many of my clients, so unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I see that this, there's been a level of toxic abuse that has run down, mainly on the men's side, some on the mothers. There is some on the female side as well. But that female side, when you looked back, also had men abusing women, and that's why the women had then become the way that they were. And it's just over time, there's been no great divine masculine to help, just to basically stop the nonsense. Look at the wars that happen on the planet. Look at the greed that's happened on the planet. That's all toxic masculine energy. Louise Hay passed away today. Yes, apparently. I just saw that before I came on the live stream. So I think she was 90 and she passed away today. Yeah. Louise Hay, for those who don't know her, wrote an amazing book, You Can Heal Your Life. And she started a whole movement with her own books. I'm sure everybody knows Hay House who's watching this, so I probably don't need to tell you. But if you don't, then go and check her out. So, so I've got written here, the toxic masculine looks for power rather than what it should have been, which is respect. Respect for the self, and also a connection to a higher power. So the divine masculine has a connection to a higher power, a higher self. The toxic masculine is seeking power for the self. That's the difference. Okay? So I think that's quite juicy. So I'll say it again. So the toxic masculine is looking for power for the self, to feel powerful, but really in the wrong places. So that's when it's becoming a workaholic. It believes that money is, not that money is evil, but that money is the kind of like makes them feel powerful, or that celebrity makes them feel powerful, or that aggression makes them feel powerful, that kind of thing. Whereas the divine masculine energy is a person who is able to say, I feel powerful because I am connected to myself, and I'm connected to my purpose, and I'm connected to something higher than me. That's why for many people, until they find their mission, or just something that really inspires them, they don't really feel a huge connection and embodiment in the body. That goes for men and women. The third thing is Western culture shows us over and over that masculine means aggressive, that the toxic masculine is kind of elevated in a way. So sort of like, many years ago, it would have been, you would have looked to be a gentleman, right? And women would have been very, very repressed, right? But that's kind of how it would be. It was all very civilized. But more and more it's become, people, as they've become freer, which, we had to evolve into more freedom, more elevation, more balance. All of that's great. But we kind of elevated aggression. So in movies, aggression is elevated. In books, maybe some books, I don't read them, but aggression is elevated. Lots of time men are shown that in order to be a real man, you have to not cry, you've got to man up, you have to not express emotions. If you do, then you're weedy. And this is played out in family lines where it's meant that children haven't really been able to connect with their fathers. And it's just been really insipid. It's kind of snuck in there. It doesn't always have to be abuse and aggression. It can just be despondence. It can just be a person who's never home. And that's how that energy plays out. It's not, I'm talking about it as an energy because I don't really believe that these traits are these people in a sense. It's just that they've learned them. So they've learned them. It's just been on repeat. And when you look at the family lines, you can see that if the father has done it, then his father probably did it, and down the lines, and over again. You can see this repeat of the dads being a certain way and the granddad being a certain way, because we take on imprints from our families. Some of it I just think is in the DNA, it's like energetic, but a lot of it is the conditioning. Lots of it is the conditioning. We can choose to change, but we have to know where to look first, and it's very hard when we don't have good role models. So, where did I get to? Was I on number 4 yet? Yes, so it was culture. Yes, number 4 was about culture, showing it over and over that masculine means macho, right? Masculine is not macho. Macho is immaturity. Macho is the immature masculine, and it hasn't grown yet. Or as Alison Armstrong would say, there's different levels where you that men go through, where they are, I think she calls it the knight and then the prince, and then they become the king, and this goes through their life. It's actually really good. She's got a really good book, which I totally forget the name of. I can't remember. I'll post it once I find out. But she goes through the stages, and because we've lost connection to the elders and lost connection to really good teachers, we kind of have lost those stages. So men just kind of believe, or the toxic masculine in man believes, that macho is masculine, and it's not. And I see this actually even in, with even like going out, like I just see like kids, and it's not just men, it's girls as well, going out and just not doing anything, hanging about on street corners because there's nothing to do. That's because they don't have any guidance. I think this whole thing's turned into guidance, isn't it? Well, there's just no guidance out there for people. So the thing to do is to drink, because that's what they see everybody else doing that has fun. They go to work during the week, they make money, and then they go and drink at the weekend, and that's kind of what they do. And so our kids kind of inspire to be more grown up, so that's what they also do, because that's what they see. So we need to be better parents and better mentors. And number 5 is we no longer identify masculine energy the way we used to. Well, I've said that really. We kind of identify with it, not as a conscious, caring, fully embodied, purposeful men. We embody it, we see it as the excitement that we get in movies. People running about, shooting people, trying or being the hero. We still have the hero's journey, which I actually think, Joseph Campbell coined the hero's journey, and I still think that's an amazing analogy. I think all people have it, that we all go through a hero's journey, and there will be a big dip where we are in a horrible space, and this probably happened many times in your life, where we then come out of it and we rise above, and we become a new version of ourselves, hopefully a better version of ourselves. And I think that's really, really important for anyone who has a masculine energy, to really feel like they go through some sort of, what would be the word? I've lost the word, but be taken through a passage of rites. That's what I'm trying to think of. So to be taken through a passage of rites in order to become, fully in the masculine energy, fully embodying the importance of the self, the respect for the self, the respect for other people, to learn how to manage emotions, to learn that actually it's okay to feel emotions. I read a study recently that said that it was a study on girls and boys and when they're babies, and they tested to see how, I don't know how many children were in the study, it could have been 2, which would be a bit stupid, but they tested to see how much the little boys cried compared to the girls, and apparently the little boys cried more. So these little boys were really looking for more affection and more attention, and they're just as emotional as us girls. So rather than sort of looking at the toxic masculine, maybe just take our focus off that for a minute, is to say, well, what could be different? What is it that could be different? And for me, it is looking at anything that maybe has happened in your world with toxic masculine energy and turning it around and asking yourself, where am I the point of change? So this is what I do in my coaching work. We'll look at where the toxic masculine has appeared in your world, and we'll say, well, where were you the catalyst in order to change that? Like, what steps were made? Even further down the line, your father might have chosen something different from the grandfather, but just to notice it and to see where the pattern is in your family line, to see where we can shift this, because really that energy has created so much chaos. And at the moment, I keep going back to Trump, but he is kind of the archetypal face of toxic masculine energy. It's not open, it's only open to his kind. It knows it all, it doesn't need to be taught anything. It's the best at everything. No one can outdo him. He has lots of money. And again, I'm not saying that money is wrong. I think money brings freedom. But the toxic masculine takes it as power. He believes he's powerful because he has it. He doesn't believe he's powerful because he's connected to a higher something, right? He believes he's powerful because he has made his fortune. And he absolutely believes he's powerful because he's the president. So I guess in a way that sort of has worked for him. But it's just very, non-inclusive. It just doesn't pertain to consciousness where feminine energy, in the true feminine, because the feminine can be toxic as well, but in the true balance of feminine energy, it'd be very heart open and receptive, and the true divine masculine, would be heart open and centered, and a place where you can, if you had someone around you like that, you would know it because you would feel safe around that person. You would feel held with that person. You would feel like you could be yourself with that person. So that's kind of what I believe about the masculine. I'm not sure if I've made much sense to you, but do leave me some comments below. I need to go now because I'm going to go and do a call with John. And if any of you would like a soul session with me, I'm still doing some free soul sessions, but I won't be doing them for much longer because I'm kind of moving around. I am putting together a 7-day pain to power program because many of you replied on my question about which course to start first. And we will be looking at some of the toxic masculine elements within that, as well as the other ones I'm going to be talking about in the next few days. So the next one will be on the toxic feminine energy and looking at that and how this manifests itself. So tune in for that, and thank you all for joining me, and I will see you again soon. Bye.